Would this meeting please come to order? Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming here this morning, and also you, Omar Boukili, Chief of Staff for the Mayor. We will begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the final step in the Revere Political Journalism Symposium. And Mr. Mayor, we have saved the best for last, because you are the best. I wish to thank Rashid Mukabir for asking me to host this meeting. He is traveling on business, and as a matter of fact, he is in Morocco even as we speak. We will now have our students, who are now city councilors, introduce themselves, beginning with Councilor Zachary.
My name is Zachary Oldsfia. I'm in the Romney Marsh Academy and I'm entering 7th grade.
Councilor Nada.
My name is Nada Ibrahim. I go to the Susan B. Anthony, entering 7th grade, and I'm 12 years old.
Councilor Hassan.
My name is Hassan Glio. I'm in 10th grade and I go to Revere High School.
By the way, Councilor Hassan won a prize for the best essay. The prize was $520, and I happen to have been the judge of that contest. And the best video was Adam, $520 best video. All right, next.
My name is Wisala Rashad. I go to Garfield Middle School and turn 7th grade.
My name is Adam Oldsfia. I'm in the Romney Marsh Academy, and I'm entering 7th grade.
Very good. Mr. Mayor, could you make some opening comments?
Councilors, thank you for taking the time, and welcome to Revere City Council, the council chamber. I will say at the outset that this is a council that I think I could work with a little bit better than maybe the current council, but it really is special to have all of you, I think, here and sitting in these seats. And when I look at each one of you, I think of you hopefully sitting in those seats for real and having an opportunity to represent the city, and hopefully a city that you love and that you have pride in and that you grow up and you want to be a part of. So I hope that I can kind of take a picture of what's happening right now, and there'll be literally pictures being taken of what's happening right now, and in maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years, you guys are actually sitting in those seats and making decisions for the residents of the city. That's what I know I want to see. I think that's what Bill wants to see at some point, and that's what I'm here to try and help do, is to try to get folks feeling like they're part of the community and feel like they have an opportunity to be city councilors one day and maybe be Congress men and women someday, or maybe be president someday. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to taking some questions. Although while I will say that this council might be a little bit more willing to work with me, I'm a little concerned about the questioning that might be coming forward and how difficult those questions will be. So, we'll work through it, but I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.
Maybe I should have given you the questions in advance, but it's all right. So the first question will come from Councilor Zachary. Councilor Zachary.
Mr. Mayor, there are many rundown or abandoned houses in Revere. What can you do to tear them down?
Councilor Zach, that is a fantastic question. And one thing, I'll tell you what we are doing right now, and there is certainly more work that needs to be done, and definitely in some certain areas of the city. But what the city has done is we've been able to basically get a listing of all the houses that we know are either vacant or don't look very pretty. And what we try to do is make sure that we have inspectors that go out and take a look at the property, make sure it's not a public safety hazard. And we've actually been able to rehab and to get those properties fixed up a little bit. But certainly we're on our way of making sure that there are more properties that we're fixing up, but it takes a long time. That's the only other problem is that it takes a long time. So sometimes a bank might own a property, and it takes a little bit longer to get them to come along, and we find the property, and we'll find the owners of the property. But were there any specific areas that you were concerned about more than others? Maybe your street or an area that we can make sure that we're covering a little bit more closely.
Maybe Shaw's?
The Shaw's area? So, and I'll tell you, and because Omar's been on my trips with me to the Shaw's site, we've taken rides around that property just to try to get it cleaned up. And we got it cleaned up maybe February, or March. And there were it looked like there were actually people living in the back of the property. There were some couches set up and some tables. So we want to make sure that property gets cleaned up, and we want to make sure that eventually that property gets developed in a way that can be good for the city. So,
Councilor Nato.
Mr. Mayor, do you favor the slot casino being discussed for Revere? Why yes, why or why no?
Councilor Nada?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. I am adamantly opposed to the slot parlor proposal that is being kind of thrown out there on the state ballot. So there's a question on the state ballot this year in November that voters will have an opportunity to weigh in on. From my perspective, a slot parlor is not representative of the high standards that we want to set for the city for economic development purposes. Property in Revere is very valuable. We want to make sure that we're getting the highest and best use for any property. And in my opinion, a slot parlor isn't something that I want to raise my family around. It's not something that I don't think many families would want to be around. And at the end of the day, the amount of money that would come into the city wouldn't be worth it. Wouldn't be worth the bad things that come along with having a slot parlor. So in my opinion, it's just not the highest and best use. And I think we can do a lot better things with properties, and we can do a lot better things if we have vision and we think about how to make the city a better place and have really high standards, rather than saying, you know what, it's better than what's there now, so let's just approve it or let's go forward with it. I'd rather say, here's a high standard that I want to have for a property, and here's what I want to see happen. So how do you feel about it?
I don't like the idea because I think I agree with you. We could do something better for Revere. It would bring in money and people, but there would be a lot of people will be losing their money to the slots, and there'd be a lot of problems coming with it.
Right. There are a lot of negative impacts that you have to weigh, and so the amount of money that comes in is supposed to help be able to mitigate those problems, but I think the risk is too great, and the reward, the amount of money coming in, isn't enough for us to get behind it. So, thanks.
Councilor Hassan, please.
Mr. Mayor, they say Shirley Ave has a great future in Revere, a hidden gem, they say. Can you tell us why?
Sure. Councilor Hassan, thank you for bringing up Shirley Ave, because I know for the time that I've been in office since January, I've really taken a lot of time and effort to make sure that people understand the opportunity and the potential down in Shirley Ave. And so, and when I look at Shirley Ave, what I think about is the fact that it's right on public transportation, right? So you have the blue line that runs right by there, the Revere Beach T-stop. You have the beautiful beach that's just a quick walk across the street. And you have some wonderful shops and restaurants and bakeries down there. And so from my perspective, it's really a hidden gem that you just need a little bit of time and a little bit of effort to clean up and to shine up a little bit. But I'm willing to make that effort and put that investment in and make sure that we're putting resources towards that, towards the corridor, you know, the Shirley Ave corridor, and that we're making sure that it's a safe place for people to walk around and kids to walk around, and that it's a place that people want to ultimately spend a little bit of money and enjoy all the great stuff, especially at Casablanca Bakery, Thamora Da, which is a wonderful restaurant, and there's so much opportunity along that area. But for a long time, we haven't recognized that, and we haven't put any resources into it. So I'm willing to do that.
Councilor Wasal. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
I'm trying to ask each councilor a question themselves and see.
Yes, sir.
You know, do you live down in the Shirley Ave area, or do you like it down there? Or what do you see happening down there?
I mean, since it used to be, I really usually didn't go around there when I was younger.
Yep.
But now I love going there because all the new bakeries, new shops,
It's a vibrant place, right? And so we want to make it. We want to make sure that people know that it's a vibrant place and people know that it's important. And I think what's happened, there's oftentimes been a disconnect between people in city government and I think Shirley Ave especially, where the resources that we could put in, the money that we could put down there, the time that we could spend down there, the kind of effort we can make to make it even better than what it is, hasn't been done, and there's so much potential down there. So look forward to working with you to make sure that we make the gem of the city really shine.
Thank you. Councilor Wasal.
Economic development is so important, especially on our beautiful beach. What would you like to see done on the beach?
Thank you, Councilor Wasal. There is a lot of opportunity on the beach, and we're starting to see some of the development that's happening. That's been in the making for 16 years now. So it actually goes back before, obviously before me, before the mayor before me, and actually it was with the mayor before him. So it goes back three mayors, and you're starting to see some of that development around the Wonderland Tea Station. I think the exciting thing is with Shirley Ave, and when you get onto the beach right by Shirley Ave, there's a lot of potential, and there are some vacant properties and some properties that are blighted. And one thing that we want to do is make sure that people understand that there is a lot of potential, and that what I want to see are the amenities for people. So it's the restaurants, it's the coffee shops, it's the bakeries, the types of things that people walk to and that people enjoy. To have that beautiful view of the beach is really exciting, but to not have some of those amenities that people can enjoy as they walk down. And we have to be mindful that there are some amenities already. You know, there's a Twist and Shake, there's the banana boat. There are some places that are great, but we want to make sure that there are even more opportunities and more amenities. So for me, I'm really focused on getting the amenities in, getting the restaurants to come in, making sure that the sidewalks are walkable and that people are enjoying enjoying the beach for all that it has to offer. So, you have any ideas of what you'd like to see down the beach? The other thing is, what I will say is that I think what the beach has lacked for a while is an iconic. I wouldn't say play structure necessarily, but iconic either cultural or recreational kind of space. So, and I don't know how much you know about the history of the city, but there used to be basically a mini Disney World at Revere Beach. Roller coasters, carousel, games, arcade, you name it, it was down on the beach. And so one thing that we've looked at is how do we capture some of that past and say, it would be really cool, maybe a Ferris wheel, or maybe another carousel, something recreational that would draw people, and that would be fun for everyone and be family oriented and really make it a place that is kind of exciting. So you should check out the history of the city, though. If you take a look in my office, there are some old pictures, old drawings of the beach, and there used to be, like I said, some wonderful recreational spots, and to have a mini Disney World on the beach was really exciting. So,
Mr. Mayor, is it possible that when we're through that we can all walk down just to see your office?
oh, absolutely, of course.
Councilor Adam.
Mr. Mayor, you were elected mayor of Revere, but the vote was very close because you ran against the former mayor. What did you do in your campaign that you think got you elected?
Councilor Adam, to save the best for the last, right? This is the tough one.
There's more questions coming.
Oh, there's more questions. Okay. So, in terms of the election, it was relatively close, and we had a tough election. I think there were a couple of different factors at play. I tried to work really hard and make sure that people understood where I was coming from, what my vision for the city was. And we talked a lot about making sure that we get some economic development in the city, that we're promoting commercial components to any development that happens, so that we have the kinds of amenities that we talked about. I've wanted to make sure that, aside from that we're being financially responsible, and that we try to, in whatever way we can, give back to the taxpayers, to the people who own property, people who live in the property that they own, and make sure that at the end of the day, that they understand that I work for them, and just like I work for all of you. So I don't have. I like to say I'm the boss of a few people, but I have about 55,000 bosses. So you guys are all my boss. You can tell me what to do or what you think I'm not doing enough of, and that's the way that I approach the job. And I think people appreciated that, and people understood that that's the kind of leadership that the city needed. So,
Thank you. We're going to have another series of questions.
okay, great.
And then we're going to be presenting a motion.
Okay.
Okay? Councilor Zachary.
The opiate problem in Revere is a serious problem. There are many overdoses and deaths. Is there anything that you as a mayor can do about it?
Councilor Zach, there is a lot that we can do, and there's a lot that we're already doing, and there's a lot more to be done. What I will say is that I really appreciate. What grade are you in?
Seventh.
Seventh
I'm
grade?
entering seventh.
You can't say enough about how much I appreciate the fact that you understand that this is a problem that's facing our community, and as long as we're informing our children at a young age of the dangers of what can happen, hopefully we can stop the epidemic that we're faced with. But this is a good question, because actually next month is Recovery Month, and the city's got a couple of things going on, and what I've done upon taking office is make sure that we get people in the room together to talk about what are our strategies. And so when you can imagine, with a problem like the opioid crisis, you have so many different people that need to be involved, from people who help the people who have addiction problems, to the people who respond to the people who have addiction problems. So you have police and fire, and then you have our public safety officials and our public health officials. So to get everybody in a room and talk about strategies of how do we plan out the next couple of years and make sure that we're making some progress. So we started doing that when I got into office. And so some of the takeaways from that have been, we need to be able to hire more people in the city who can help do some of those, do some of the work to make sure that we're coordinating together. And so this year we'll be hiring 2 new people and opening an office of substance use disorder, which will be on Revere Street. And the idea being that we'll have some capacity to make sure people are coordinating together and we're working and collecting the information that we need to collect, and that there are some resources on the ground helping individuals. But the most important thing that I think about is how we can talk to our kids in the school system and have a program in place that is informative for people to understand what the consequences are of making some poor decisions. I've had friends myself who have passed away because of addiction. I have friends that I went to high school with, that I went to middle school with, that I remember playing basketball with or playing baseball with, who ended up making a couple of poor decisions and they unfortunately passed away. So to make sure that you all don't make poor decisions, or that your friends don't make poor decisions, is a really important piece of helping to stop the crisis. And it's going to start with guys like you. So I'm glad that you brought it up and you're thinking about it. So do you have any thoughts about what we can do for young men and women your age?
Not really.
Nothing? Well, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it, and I'm going to come back maybe at the end of the day, or maybe we can follow up with you. I want you to think about it, and think about what would be helpful for you to think about in terms of the opioid crisis, and what would be helpful for us to do for a young guy like yourself.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Council Nava?
Mr. Mayor, what is your biggest achievement so far as mayor?
That's a good question. So I'd say that the biggest achievement.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you shouldn't have to think about that question,
Well,
Mr.
there are
Mayor.
so many that I'm going through my head, and I'm thinking about what the opportunities that we've had. I think the biggest achievement, honestly, and it might sound a little bit corny, but I think having a dialogue and having young men and women like yourselves up in front of this council chamber and sitting in these chairs is something that I've worked really hard to make sure that everyone feels like they're part of this community, and that everyone feels like they own some portion of this building. This is your building, and this is your chamber. So for people to feel like they're invited, they're part of the community, that their voice is being heard, and that they actually have some direct contact and some direct that their voice is being heard. And so having, I think just the visual of having young men and women like yourselves up here is an accomplishment that I think shouldn't go unnoticed, because the fact is you represent and you look like the community more than a lot of what we've seen in City Hall. If you go through each office, you represent the future of the city. So to have young leaders of the city in this kind of setting and feeling like they're empowered to do these kinds of things is really I'd say one of my biggest accomplishments so far.
Thank you. Councilor Hassan.
Mr. Mayor, with the continuing growth of our city, many residents think we need more police. Do you agree?
I will, Councilor, thank you for the question. I will agree on that. And I think the budget this year, I actually added 3 police positions into our budget this year. And so there is certainly a need for more manpower. But at the end of the day, we also have to understand that more people doesn't necessarily mean more efficient work or better work, right? So there's a fine line between managing and making sure people are reaching a high level and that they're working to full capacity, and at the same time making sure that you have the adequate manpower. But it's certainly something that we've looked at, and I've made sure that we've added some police officers to our ranks. So,
Councilor Wassall.
Many citizens say City Hall is falling apart and needs to be rehabilitated. Do you agree? If yes, where will the money come from?
that is a great question, Councilor Wassall. And all you have to do, and I don't know if you've been behind the chamber yet, but all you have to do is take a look behind the chamber, and you'll see some of the disrepair that City Hall is in, that the chamber is in. You can actually probably see some of the watermarks, and there are some issues in the building, certainly. And as I think you probably all know, that a couple of years ago, there was a tornado that came and actually hit the building. So we're actually working with our insurance company to make sure that the city gets a fair amount of money to be able to rehab a portion of the roof here in the building and some of the spaces. And actually, when we leave here, I'm going to make sure you guys get to see what the space behind the chamber looks like, because it's really bad. With all that said, there's going to be there has to be a conversation about what the future space of City Hall will look like, and how to make sure that it's an adequate space to do work in. And we're hopeful that some of the insurance money that we have coming in from the tornado will help pay for some of the repair, and hopefully we can kind of get the building up to code and up to shape. One thing I will say is that immediately after coming into office, there was a woman's bathroom that was in really bad shape, and we made sure that got redone, and that the facilities, at a bare minimum, that the facilities are in working order and in good shape, and that and so anytime that there's been some work that we can do without spending a lot of money, we've tried to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Adam.
Mr. Mayor, your Chief of Staff, Omar Bukili, who we all know and like, helps you to run our city. Could you tell us what he does, his responsibilities?
That, Councilor Adam, that is a great question. And I'll give you a little bit of background about Mr. Bukili. I actually had the opportunity to work with him in the city of Somerville. And so we worked together for a few years. And he tried to convince me that I didn't want to have this job because he knew what it was what it was going to entail. And when I got elected, I told him I'm not I got to have you on board with me, and you got to be part of this the change that we're going to bring to the city. And Mr. Bukili is an incredible asset. He has been willing to take on the task of helping me change the culture in the city, change the culture in City Hall, and really be an indispensable asset that I don't think anyone really truly appreciates in terms of the knowledge that he has and the ability to get things done. So he's been incredible. Now day to day, he just runs around like a chicken with his head cut off. So except for right now, he's actually pretty calm, and he's hanging out, and he's very at ease. But normally, and I might have to take some video so you guys can see him running around. But he is just running around, and he has been somebody who's been able to help, with everything from union negotiations to making sure that our streets and sidewalks are done correctly, to making sure that our budget looks the right way, and he has so much experience in every aspect of city government that he's been indispensable. But if you were to see him on a normal day, he'd be running around, and you'd say, "What exactly does he do?" He just looks like he's running around like a crazy person.
Mr. Mayor, what's the population of Somerville?
Population in Somerville, I think it's 75, right? 80,000?
80,000, and we have, what, 53, 55 people
Yeah,
here?
53 to 55.
I just wanted to comment about your Chief of Staff, Omar Bukili. He had some negative responses from the City Council at the beginning. They felt that he was earning too much money. That was one thing. But I would like to say that the impression that not just the City Council has, the City of Revere, but also the people of Revere, that he is an excellent, excellent Chief of Staff. And you know what? Let's give Omar a round of applause, everybody. Come on. Okay, what we're going to do now is
So I just want to add one comment to that. And so, and I think it speaks to the fact that you're all here and that you're all invited, is that there are people, unfortunately, who are not interested in change. And they're not interested in different viewpoints, and they're not interested in embracing the people, everybody in our community. And Omar has been a lightning rod for that. So the work that he does is helping all of you. So just remember that.
Could I make a motion, not here, but at the real City Council, that both of you get an increase in salary?
Which, by the way, I will say, if you were to look at, so either, both of us, we are making, a good amount of money, and that's, fine. I will note that I think we're probably, in terms of the highest paid people in the city, we're not even close to the top 40. So I think we're probably in the mid 40s or even 50s. So people might complain about how much money individuals in public service make, but the two of us, we're not making the most money in the city. So
That's shocking. That really is shocking. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. We're now going to present a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
The motion will be presented by Councilor Hassan, and each of the councilors will make comments on the motion, pro and con, and then we will vote. Councilor Hassan.
The city of Revere will build a youth center located in an area close to the center of Revere. This center will be open after school hours and staffed until 9 p.m. There will be sports such as basketball, a quiet place for students to do their homework, and also many activities. This will be a place for our youth to go rather than hanging out on Broadway causing trouble.
I agree to Hassan's motion because it will keep people busy after school.
I also agree with Hassan's motion because it will keep students in our age away from trouble, and it will benefit them, and it would help them instead of it won't it would help them, not make if they were running around causing trouble, it wouldn't benefit their future or anything. But this youth in motion would help them and proceed into their future and help with their education.
The reason I present this motion is because I believe that youth our age need a strong foundation, balance between school life and just having fun. So I believe this youth center will help balance out school between fun and school.
I oppose this motion because we already have youth centers, basketball fields, football fields, soccer fields in Revere, and we have a limited budget for youth centers.
I agree with this motion because this program will give students a place to go after school and do fun activities and be part of the community.
So one question I would ask to the council is whether or not they have any ideas about where a youth center could be placed. If they have any kind of thoughts about the general area, what would make sense, and what, I think the motion had pointed to a central location, but I didn't know if there was an actual site that anyone had been thinking about.
Mr. Shannon?
Yes, Councilor Nato?
I disagree with what Councilor Wasal said, because we need the youth in motion, because children in our age are getting into so much trouble, and we can't let children in our ages get into trouble because they need a future, they need to have a life, because they need money to raise a family, to do things and have a good future and have to benefit them. We don't have many youth in motions in Revere. I don't think we have any. And it will benefit students. It wouldn't do anything not to help them. It will help them. And it'll help with their physical activity and with their education. And most teachers can't stay until a certain time because school ends at a certain time and they have other things to do. So there will be staff members to help them.
Councilor Wasal, would you respond, please?
Yes, I understand what you're thinking, but we already have some youth centers in Revere, so if we just get another one, we'll just be wasting money when we can use that money to benefit something else.
Thank you. Has everybody spoken on this motion? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
So I had asked previously if anyone had any thoughts about where exactly we would be thinking about. I know we mentioned a central location. Is there any particular places that we think that this could happen?
Well, did you just say that the motion says it's in a central area of the city? Okay, all right, yeah.
But is there any particular location or particular building that people might be thinking about?
Before they answer, there was where did our friend go? She was going to speak on this. Did you want to speak on Beachmont? She left, okay. Yeah. Can you give us your name, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Mina Shebas. I'm Hassan's mother. So we were talking about, it used to be one YMCA in Beachmont long time ago.
Could you
And-
speak into the microphone? Because this is
Okay.
being, go ahead.
So it used to be one YMCA in Beachmont long time ago, and they have to close this when, I remember when my kids were little, and after that they didn't open any YMCA. And I know there is YMCA in Lynn, in East Boston, so people can go there, they swim for free, they do many activities for free. So they have like exercises and they have daycares there for kids. But in Revere, we don't have any of this. So this is like if we can have like one of like those center for us here in Revere too. So this is one our request for the mayor, if you can do that for us. Thank you.
And so the reason why I asked about a location or a specific location is because, and Omar, don't kill me. I had, during the campaign, I had talked about the McKinley School. So McKinley School is a pretty centrally located building. It's empty right now, and there might be, some opportunity to repurpose that or to look at it as a space that could be used for some purpose. And so I don't know if that's kind of as central as you might be thinking about, but that's why I had to ask that question to see if anyone maybe thought that would be a good location or not, because I'm more than willing to take input from the council and make sure that I make a fully vetted and fully thought out decision. So I wonder what the council thinks of the McKinley School, which is located right behind the post office.
Did you want them to respond? Okay. Do you all know? Yeah. Do you guys know where the McKinley School is?
Yes.
It's not used anymore? Okay. Why don't we begin then with Council Zachary? Do you think that the mayor has a good idea?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to say why or just say yes?
Yes.
Okay. Next. Councilor Nada?
I think it's not the best place, but the area is good, but like maybe students' parents would be dropping them off, so they would need a big parking lot or like somewhere to put their car without getting a ticket. So maybe we can make a bigger like lot for people to put their cars. But I think other than that, I think it's a good place to have it.
Councilor Hassan?
When you brought up the McKinley School, where it used to be, I started thinking about that, but then another idea popped in my head, the Shaw's property, which, since it has a very big parking lot, and it should be sizable for a youth center, like a YMCA or something like that.
And Councilor, Mr. President, if you don't mind, I'll just want to make one important point known, is that there's a significant difference between a privately owned property and a publicly owned property. So the city owns the McKinley School, that whole property. So from the basketball court all the way down to the other end of the school, the city owns that property. So we get to do with what we like with it. And I'm lucky enough to be able to make those decisions. With a privately owned property like Shaw's, it's a little bit more difficult to try to get people to think about how to develop it, because it's somebody else's property. They have rights to how they want to be able to develop it, and the city can try to make recommendations or direct a property owner in a certain way. But we can't tell them what to do with their property. So there is that slight difference that I want to make clear to the council. So, thank you.
Councilor Saul?
I think that's a good place because of where the location is. It's like close to the center of Revere and how like some school buses would go there. So that's a pretty good place for the youth center.
Counselor Adam.
I agree with putting the youth in motion in the McKinley School because we have that whole space and we're not using it for anything. So if we use it for a program, it'll help a lot. And also, it's right next to the field and the court, so they don't have to build like an indoor court.
Well, very good. We are now ready to take a formal vote on the question. Counselor Zachary,
Yes.
Counselor Nada,
Yes.
Counselor Hassan,
Yes.
Counselor Basal,
No.
Counselor Adam.
Yes.
I believe the vote is what, Hassan?
It's a 4-1 vote, so the motion passes.
Motion passes. Mr. Mayor, we have another series of questions. I asked Omar if we would do another series of questions, or because of the time frame, that we would just go and take a tour and see next door and go to your office.
Well, is there any chance of having having the meeting recessed and convened at a later date? Are we going to make this a kind of a more regular and normal event, or is this kind of was the thinking that it'd be a one-time?
Well, I can tell you this, that the symposium is going to be an annual event, so it would be another year. Are you suggesting that we do something before?
I'm suggesting that this maybe be a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a student council, but a more regular occurrence and a more regular event. And it's helpful for me to get some input from especially youth leaders in the city. And I would prefer to see your faces and your butts in those chairs more often. So if we can make it more regular, I think that would be an exciting opportunity for me.
Well, I'll take that up with Rashid, who's
Yeah.
the boss, and maybe, I think it's a good idea. Before we close, I did want to make a few comments. I missed the symposium because my grandson was here from Philadelphia with his mother, and you also for personal reason. And one day I was walking down Broadway, and the mayor was coming by with Omar, and he stopped me and he said, "Is it okay? Can you arrange to have the students come to a meeting with me?" And I said, "Well, sure." And that's what this meeting is. So on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to thank the mayor for doing this. And I also would like to praise the city councilors, because when we walked in here this morning, we had to rehearse everything. But I'm so impressed with how they handle it. Absolutely excellent. Congratulations to all of you. This meeting is adjourned.